direct examination of investigator Borquez. And so at this time, I remind you, investigator, that you're still under oath. And Ms. Pearson, you may resume your direct examination. Thank you.
Ms. Borquez, we were talking about your search of the defendant's car in August of 2012 after it had been towed to an evidence bay. We just looked at some photographs, and then did you also take items out of the car?
Yes, ma'am.
I'm going to hand you what have been marked as People's Exhibits 139 and 140. Do you recognize those items?
Yes, ma'am.
Are these two of the items that you seized during the search of the defendant's car on August 3rd of 2012?
Yes, ma'am.
Your Honor, I'd move for the admittance of People's Exhibit 139 and 140.
Is there any objection? Ms. Spengler?
A moment.
Without objection, P-DR-139 and 140 are admitted.
And if you could first hold up People's Exhibit 139 and explain to the jury what it is.
This is a magazine butt plate, and what that means is it's a little rubber thing that goes on the bottom of the magazine.
And by a magazine, we mean a magazine with bullets in it that you put into a firearm.
Yes, ma'am. Sorry, yes.
People's Exhibit 140.
This is a pair of, they look like ski goggles or goggles.
Were these located in the back of the defendant's car?
Yes, ma'am.
I'm next going to hand you what have been marked as People's Exhibits 141, 142, and 143. Do you recognize these items?
Yes, I do.
Are these items that you collected from the defendant's car on August 3rd of 2012?
Yes, ma'am.
Your Honor, I'd move for the admittance of People's Exhibits 141, 142, and 143.
Is there any objection, Ms. Spengler?
No.
Without objection, P-DR-141, 142, and 143 are admitted.
Turning first to People's Exhibit 141, would you explain what that is?
This is a magazine, and by magazine, it's a large metal tube, if you will, that has cartridges or bullets in it.
And what caliber is this? Are you able to tell?
I believe these are 223s.
And is that magazine full of bullets?
It appears to be.
People's Exhibit 142.
142 is the insurance card that belongs with the vehicle.
Does it have a name on it?
It does. It has two names. It has Robert Holmes Jr. and Arlene R. Holmes.
And People's Exhibit 143?
143 are the spikes that were on the driver's seat.
And these are the ones that we've seen in the photographs, and they've variously been called road stars and caltrops. Are these the same spikes?
Yes, ma'am.
I'm next going to hand you what's been marked as People's Exhibits 151, 152, and 154. Do you recognize these items?
Yes, I do.
Are these items that you collected from the defendant's car on August 3rd of 2012?
Yes, ma'am.
Your Honor, I'd move for the admittance of People's Exhibits 151, 152, and 154.
Is there any objection to those exhibits being admitted?
No.
Without objection, P-TR-151, 152, and 154 are admitted.
First, if you could show us People's Exhibit 151 and tell us what it is.
This is some type of metal clip, and then it's got aqua tape taped around it.
And this was found in the defendant's car?
Yes, in the front passenger seat pocket.
People's Exhibit 152?
152 is another magazine. It also has cartridges in it, and it was between the driver's seat and the center console.
And does this magazine appear to have .223 ammo in it?
Yes, it does.
And is this magazine loaded?
Yes.
And People's Exhibit 154?
154 is a black knit hat. It was on the center console on the little bump on the back
In the back seat of the car?
seat of the car, yes.
Thank you. Thank you. I don't have any more questions for you.
Any cross-examination, Ms. Spangler?
No, thank you.
The jury may have a question for you, so give us a moment, please. Thank you. Would our counsel please approach? Investigator Borquez, the jury has submitted some questions that, based on the rules of evidence and other applicable rules of law, I have determined are appropriate. The first question is, was the front windshield also blacked out, or was it not as dark as the other windows? The photo looked like the front windshield was black, if you know.
It was not blacked out. That would just be the lighting in the, from the overhead in the garage.
The next question is there a difference between a comical copper fragment, I'm reading it the way it was written, and a copper fragment, other than shape?
No, it's basically the shape. In other words, a fragment is going to be only a part of a, in this case, copper conical thing. The copper conical is the whole copper cover all in one piece.
All right, any follow-up questions, Ms. Pearson, based on those questions?
No, Your Honor.
Any follow-up questions from you, Ms. Spengler?
Briefly.
Investigator, the date that you processed the car, had a chance to look at the car, was on August 3rd of 2012?
That's correct.
Okay, and other individuals had had the opportunity to process and look at the car prior to August 3rd?
I was advised of that, yes.
Okay, no further questions.
May this witness be released from our subpoena, Ms. Pearson?
She may, Your Honor.
Any objection, Ms. Spengler?
No objection.
All right, thank you.
Sir?
And Your Honor, may we publish the exhibits to the jury?
Yes. Ms. Gerlings and Ms. Agel, if you would, please. And for the record, you're only asking to publish the physical exhibits that were just admitted through Investigator Borquez, not the photographs, correct?
That is correct.
All right, thank you. The record should reflect that we just finished publishing all of the physical exhibits that were admitted through investigator requests. And when I say physical exhibits, I'm not including the pictures in that term. All right, you may call your next witness. Good morning.
Good morning.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm under penalty of law that the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Please be seated.
Thank you.
Please tell us your full name and spell your first, middle, and last names.
Angela Jean Benford, Angela Jean Benford.
Mr. Orman, you may proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. Ma'am, could you please tell us who you work for and what your job is?
I work for the City of Aurora as the CSI supervisor.
Just briefly, like in a couple of sentences, what does a CSI supervisor do?
Right now, for the past year, I've supervised our CSIs from the office. I read their reports and check on them.
Are you also involved in processing crime scenes and the regular work that a crime scene investigator does?
Yes, I am.
How long have you done that?
17 years.
I want to ask you about August of 2012. Were you working as a crime scene investigator for the City of Aurora at that time?
Yes, I was.
And when we say the City of Aurora, is that for the police department?
Yes.
Were you involved in participating in a search of the defendant's vehicle, a white Hyundai, on August 3rd, 2012?
Yes, I was.
And who else was with you helping with that search?
I assisted Investigator Borquez.
What was the condition of the vehicle when you conducted the search?
I believe the passenger windows were out. They had been broken. The rest of the vehicle looked in good condition.
Did you participate in searching the car and collecting items of evidence from the interior of the vehicle?
I did.
Your Honor, may I approach the witness on a couple of occasions with items of evidence?
You may.
Ms. Benford, I have handed you what has been marked for identification as People's Exhibits 19 and 20. Do you see those?
Yes, I do.
What is 19?
19 is a .223 rifle round.
Did you find that in the car?
Yes, I did.
Where?
It was on the front passenger seat amongst some of the glass.
And what is 20?
A 20 is also a .223 rifle round.
Did you find that in the car?
I did.
Where?
This was on the floor behind the driver's seat.
In other words, in the passenger sort of area?
Yes.
Like if you were sitting behind the driver's seat where your feet might be?
Yes.
Your Honor, I move to admit People's Exhibits 19 and 20.
Is there any objection to the admission of 19 and 20?
No.
Without objection, P-TR-19 and 20 are admitted.
Now handed you what I've marked for identification as People's Exhibit 21. Do you recognize that?
Yes, I do.
What is it?
This is a shotgun shell.
Did you find that in the defendant's car?
I did.
Where?
It was under the front passenger seat.
Move to admit 21, Your Honor.
Any objection, Ms. Spengler?
No.
Without objection, P-TR-21 is admitted.
And you say it's a shotgun shell. Is that a fired or unfired shotgun shell?
Unfired.
And you say it was under the passenger, or under the driver's seat. Do you remember it was like towards the front or the back, or do you not know?
It was under the front passenger seat, and I don't recall where exactly it was.
Handed you what I've marked for identification as People's Exhibit 22. Do you recognize that?
Yes, I do.
What is it?
This was a set of keys.
Did you find that in the defendant's car?
I did.
Where?
It was on the driver's seat.
Your Honor, move to admit 22.
Is there any objection?
No.
Without objection, P-TR-22 is admitted.
I want to ask you a couple of questions about 22. Do you see the car key there?
Yes, I do.
Now, when I look at the car key, it appears to be bent or something. Is that correct?
Yes, it appears to be bent.
Do you know how it got that way?
I do not.
Also, I see some type of a plastic tag on there. Do you recognize that?
Yes, I do.
What is that?
It's a King Soopers card, a rewards card.
What other kinds of keys are on that key ring?
There's some house keys, a handcuff key, and another key. I'm not sure what it is for.
All right, did you say a handcuff key?
I did.
I've handed you what I've marked for identification as People's Exhibits 23 and 25. Do you recognize those items?
I do.
What is People's Exhibit 23?
23 is a pair of black knit gloves I collected from the vehicle.
Where were they in the vehicle?
They were on the front passenger, I believe they were on the front passenger floor.
And what is 25?
25 is a pair of sunglasses.
Did you find that in the defendant's vehicle?
I did.
Where was that located?
It was on the driver's seat.
Your Honor, move to admit People's Exhibits 23 and 25.
Ms. Spengler, do you have any objection?
No.
Without objection, P-TR-23 and 25 are admitted.
Did you notice anything unusual about People's Exhibit 23 or the items contained therein?
No.
I now want to ask you about responding to collect some shotgun pellets. Did you respond to collect some shotgun pellets taken from the right shoulder of a victim in this case?
I did.
Would that be Marcus Weaver?
Yes.
Your Honor, may I approach the witness? I'm sorry, I asked Your Honor not to ask that, and then I asked it. I'm sorry for doing that.
That's okay.
All right, I've handed you now People's Exhibit 30 for identification. Are those shotgun pellets removed from the shoulder of Marcus Weaver?
Yes.
Move to admit 30, Your Honor.
Any objection?
No objection.
Without objection, P-TR-30 is admitted.
Can I have a second, Your Honor?
Yes.
Your Honor, I have no further direct examination. After we're done with any potential jury questions, I'm going to ask to publish these exhibits.
All right, is there any cross-examination?
No. Thank you.
And there do not appear to be any questions from the jury. May this witness be released from her subpoena, Mr. Orman?
Yes, Your Honor.
Any objection, Ms. Spengler?
No.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, the request to publish is granted, so Ms. Zagel and Ms. Gerlings, if you would, please. Okay, the record should reflect that we just finished publishing the exhibits that were admitted through investigator Benford. You may call your next witness, Mr. Orman.
Thank you, Your Honor. Evan Morrison.
Good morning. Could I have you raise your right hand so that I can administer an oath? Do you solemnly swear or affirm under penalty of law that the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Please be seated. Could you please tell us your full name and spell your first, middle, and last names?
Yes. My name is Evan Jovan Morrison, EvanJovonMorrison.
All right, Mr. Orman, you may proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Morrison, I would like to ask you some questions about the events that occurred inside Theater 9 of the Aurora Century Theater, the early morning hours of July 20th, 2012. Were you there?
Yes.
How old were you at the time?
I was 20 years old.
How old are you now?
23.
I want to ask you a couple questions before we get into what happened inside the theater about how you ended up there and who you were with. So who were you with in the theater?
I was with my friends, Fasil Iyayu,
You know, I got a feeling the court reporter's going to want you to spell that one. So can you
Okay.
spell that one?
It's Fassileyayou.
Who else were you with?
Christopher Ramos, Christopherramos, and Stephanie Rodriguez, Stephanierodriguez.
When did you decide to go to the movies that night?
We had decided earlier that day.
Who's we?
My friend Fasil Iyayu and I.
How'd you get the tickets?
Fasil Iyayu and I purchased the tickets earlier in that day and bought them for Stephanie Rodriguez, Chris Ramos, myself, and him.
Did you do it online or did you go to the theater?
We went to the theater.
What time did you get to the theater?
When we bought the tickets or when we...
Good question for me. Bad question I asked, I guess. What time did you get to the theater to buy the tickets?
I'm not sure of the exact time. Is in the afternoon.
Did you stick around all afternoon and in the evening?
No.
All right, where'd you go after you bought the tickets?
We went to Christopher Ramos's house.
What time did you get to the theater?
We got to the
All
theater...
right, you know what? The second time. Okay.
We got to the theater right before the movie was about to begin. So I'd say approximately 15 to 20 minutes before the movie was going to begin.
So something like quarter till midnight?
Yes.
Were you tired? Were you like all jazzed up? How were you feeling?
I suppose an amalgamation of all of them. I was excited, tired.
When you got to the theater, if you could, for me and for the jury, describe how full it was. How many people were there in the theater when you got there?
The theater was extremely full. It seemed as if we were not going to be able to get seats to get in. We were worried it was that full.
Did you find seats?
Yes, but to be precise, Christopher Ramos found seats for us.
Okay. So your group found seats.
Yes.
Did we ask you to create a diagram that showed where y'all were sitting and also summarized your observations that night in the theater?
Yes, you did.
Your Honor, may I approach the witness with what has been marked for identification as People's Exhibit 1148?
Yes.
You have a chance to take a look at that? Is that a yes? You got to
Yes.
say it so the court reporter can hear it.
Yes, yes, I did.
Does that show where you and your friends were seated in the theater and also accurately summarize your observations that evening?
It does.
Move to admit 1148, Your Honor.
Any objection?
Approach on 1148.
Yes. The objection is overruled, so P-TR-1148 is admitted and may be published.
Thank you. Could we put that up for a moment, please, 1148? And if we could zoom in a little bit there over where the circle is with the letters in the lower left-hand quadrant there. No, that's the upper right-hand quadrant, the lower left-hand quadrant. There you go. Does this demonstrate where you and your friends were seated?
It does.
Now, you got to see there's a little mouse in front of you there and a monitor. See if you can move that mouse around. Let's see if that works. Are you moving the mouse around?
I am.
Okay. I think we're going to have to use the stick. There's a microphone there, like a cordless microphone. You see that?
Yes.
See that stick behind you? Actually, you know what? Just take a look. Maybe we don't even have to have you point it out here. I see an E there. What does that stand for?
That stands for my position.
Okay, that's you.
Yes.
And then there's an F. Who is that?
Basil Yayu.
Now there's a, I can't really read your handwriting there. What's that next letter?
The next letter is a C. It's Christopher Ramos.
And then that next one, I'm sorry, I can't read your handwriting on that one. What does that say?
Or, excuse me, the next one was an S, and then the next one was a C.
Okay.
So the S was Stephanie Rodriguez, and then the C is Christopher Ramos.
All right, now if we could zoom out again to the whole picture, please. So as you're facing the screen, fair to say you and your friends are on the left-hand aisle.
That's correct.
And you're actually on the aisle, is that right?
Yes.
I want to ask you a couple questions about before the movie started. And then I'm going to ask you some questions about after the movie started. So before the movie started, did you notice anything unusual, at least that you remember, in the theater?
No.
Okay, how about a person with a cell phone?
Yes.
Okay. So tell me about, first of all, where the person with the cell phone was when you first saw him.
The person with the cell phone is indicated by the circle in the upper right quadrant, the longer circle. It says dark figure with cell phone.
Okay.
It says dark figure with cell phone. It's located in the upper right quadrant.
Could you do me a favor? Could you unfold that microphone so that it's pointing, the microphone in front of you? See how it's folded? There you go. And then speak into the microphone so that everyone can hear you, okay? Thank you.
Yes.
All
And
right.
then, I'm not going to ask you to talk but can you just go with that stick there and point out what you're talking about on that big monitor? And if you need to stand up, that's fine. All right, so you're referring to sort of, I would call it an oval-shaped area, is that fair?
That's fair.
And is that where you saw the guy with the cell phone?
That is accurate.
And what did you see? I mean, what was the person doing?
The person stood up with their phone. I turned it when their phone was already in their hand. They stood up, and then they proceeded to walk towards what's shown as the door. So.
And you said, off the microphone, you said this area, is that right?
That's correct.
Did the person then go out of your view?
Yes.
Could you give me any description of that person, or could you not see?
I could not see. It was dark.
Now, was this before or after the previews had started?
I believe this is after the previews.
I want to flash forward a little bit. So the previews have happened. The movie has started. Obviously, events happen in the theater. So I want you to tell me about the first thing that you noticed where something unusual was going on inside the theater after the movie started.
So there was an object, which I have yet to identify or know, but it looked like a soda bottle was thrown from the bottom of the theater, the bottom left, towards the upper right of the theater.
Now, you're saying the bottom left. Take a look at this picture here. And could you show me where you think it, and I don't think you drew it on here, but with that stick, could you show me the route that you think you saw that thing take?
Somewhere down here, coming this direction.
Okay. Did you, you said it looked like a soda bottle. Did you see anything unusual about it that made it you think it wasn't a soda bottle?
It appeared as if a white gaseous solution was arising out of it or evolving from it.
After you saw the soda bottle, or the thing that looked like a soda bottle, flying through the air with that white gaseous substance coming off of it, did you notice anything unusual happening in the area of the door where you had seen the guy with the cell phone go?
No, I was not paying attention to the door.
Okay. What was the first thing then that you noticed unusual after this thing flew through the air?
It appeared as if another one was thrown back down, or the same one, I'm unsure, back to the direction from whence it came.
Okay. What do you remember happening next that was unusual?
Next thing I remember was a man in the same area, approximately where it says, well, I'll point.
Please.
Man is standing in this area.
Okay. You know what? Want to see that the handheld microphone? There you go. Why don't you turn that on?
And you can step down if you want. Just be careful with the steps there.
Thank you. Can you hear me?
I think we can all hear you, sir.
Okay, there was a man standing right here.
Okay. Have a seat. Now, could you see how this person was dressed, or at least what color clothes they had on?
It appeared as if they had dark clothing.
Could you tell anything else about the person?
No.
Did you see whether or not the person appeared to be holding something that looked like a firearm?
The person was holding a firearm.
Were they pointing it in a direction?
They were.
Now, did you mark on your diagram here what direction it was pointed in?
I did.
Could you take that handheld microphone again, please, and show that to the ladies and gentlemen of the jury?
So from where the shooter was standing, or the individual holding the gun, it appeared as if he was holding the gun at a 45-degree angle, going this way.
And you sort of there. Can we zoom in on that, please? That up in the upper right-hand corner. There we go. Thank you. Okay. Why don't you point that out so we can see it a little better?
So the shooter's standing here, and this is the direction at which he's pointing, shooting, or holding the gun.
Okay. Thank you. We can take that down for the moment. You can sit down. Thank you. Now, you say you saw a firearm. You showed us what direction it was pointing in. Did you see anything that made you think that the firearm was being fired?
Well, immediately after the firearm was pointed in that direction, a yellow flash came from the firearm.
Did you see how many, or were you not counting?
I was not counting.
Okay. You say you saw the gun point in that direction. You say you saw a flash. Did you hear anything?
I heard a loud bang sort of noise.
Now, you ever seen like movies with guns being fired?
I have.
Did it sound like that?
It was much louder, but similar.
So, you've described now the gun being fired, the flash, the sound. What did you do when you saw all that?
I first turned to my friend immediately next to me, Fasil Iyayu, and told him to get down.
Did he?
No.
So when you told your friend to get down and he didn't, what'd you do?
I pulled him down.
Did he resist, or did he just go down when you pulled him down?
There was a lot of force, but he went down.
So can we put that diagram up again, please? And zoom in on where they were seated. All right, so let's talk about your friend Faisal, is that how it's pronounced?
Facile.
Facile, I'm sorry about that. You see this diagram here. What was his body position then after you pulled him down?
His body position was on his back, like that.
Okay, on his back, sort of in a semi-fetal position?
Sort of, yes.
And see where it says that R13?
Yes.
What was his head or his feet pointing towards that?
His head.
Now, where were you? And you pulled Faisal down. What did you do?
I was lying in the same position. Facile was on top of me. Like, I was holding him like that.
And so your head in the same direction towards that R13?
Yes.
How about the other two, your other two friends? What were they doing at this time, if you know?
From what I recall, the same thing that happened with Facile happened with Stephanie Rodriguez. Chris said get down. When I said get down, she was frozen, and then Chris pulled her down, and their head was facing opposite of ours.
In other words, their head would be away from that R13.
That's correct.
Now, while this was going on then, while you were on the ground with Facile on top of you, did you hear anything going on in the theater that you wouldn't normally expect during a movie?
Just a lot of gunshots.
Do you think you could count out how many you might have heard?
No.
Was the movie still playing?
The movie was still playing.
How long would you say you were down there on the ground with Facile on top of you before you decided it was time to get out of there?
I'm not sure, but it was quick. Not longer than a minute, 2 minutes.
And when you decided to get out of there, was the gunfire still going on?
Yes, it was.
So I'd like you to describe for us the process, and if we can just pull back a little bit and show the where they're seated in that lower left-hand corner, please. Okay, thank you. If you could show us then, or tell us, I'm sorry, the process that you went through to get from where you're seated there, that R13, and there's this arrow going down to the bottom, and how you got out of there. So did you crawl? Did you walk? What happened?
So I started to crawl towards R13 and then crawled up the stairs to the very top, right next to R20, and I stood up.
When you were crawling up those stairs, was the gunfire still going on?
The gunfire continued.
What about Facile? What was he doing?
I could not see Facile.
How about your other two friends?
Could not see them either.
On the way then from where that says R13 up to R20, and you're crawling, did you observe anything around you or not?
People were running up the stairs.
I'd like you to tell me what happens then when you crawl up there. You're done the crawling. You said you stood up. What happened then?
I immediately fell back down.
Down on all fours, down like lying down? How'd you...
Down, lying down.
Could you tell what caused you to fall down?
I felt a sharp pain in my knee, my left knee.
Now, had your knee been in good shape before that?
Relatively good shape, yes.
Had you had an injury to your knee?
I had.
When you fell down to the ground, did you feel any pain in your knee?
I felt an extreme amount of pain in my knee.
So you're down on the ground, your knee's in pain. Can you please tell us what you did or you saw next?
So I saw people exiting, and then I immediately got up. I felt epinephrine, I think, pumping through me, and so I proceeded to run through the exit.
Was it hard to run with your knee hurting?
No.
And that would be the exit up at the top of the theater?
That's correct.
All right, we can take that down. Thank you. Tell me then about getting through that emergency door or that exit door and what you saw when you went through it.
So as I was running through the door, people were coming back in through it into the theater. When they were doing so, a few individuals asked if this was a part of the movie.
Did you answer?
Yes.
What'd you say?
No. Get out.
For hearsay.
Sustained.
Your Honor, it's a present sense impression and an excited utterance.
What's the relevance?
Approach, if it's going to be a speaking objection.
It's sustained. Ask your next question, please.
All right. Tell me about then going through that door, not what you talked to people about, but what you saw.
I saw people running back into the theater.
Did you stop them?
No.
Where did you go then after you went through the door?
I started to run down the stairs, and then I jumped down the stairs.
What do you mean by you jumped down the stairs?
The stairs is divided into two sections, sort of a decline and then a flat base and then a decline. I started to go down a few steps. I jumped to the flat base, and then from the flat base, jumped to the bottom of the stairs.
Ultimately, did they take you to Gateway High School
Yes.
and talk to police there?
Yes.
I'd like to, well, actually, and did you know Gateway High School?
I did. I attended Gateway High School.
I want to ask you about the next day then. How was your knee feeling the next day?
Awful.
Did you ever have to seek medical treatment for the injury to your knee?
I did.
What kind of medical treatment did you have to have?
I needed a meniscectomy and an ACL repair.
And did you do that?
I did.
And ACL, would that be anterior cruciate ligament?
Anterior cruciate ligament, yes.
And what was the other thing you said?
A meniscectomy.
Could you
That's where they partially, or they cut your meniscus because it was torn.
Excuse me, relevance. and-
Sustained.
could you just spell that for us, please?
Meniscectomy?
Yeah.
I will do my best. MENESECTOMY.
And just one more question for you, sir, I think. How long did it take you before your knee was sort of in good shape again?
Objection 403, 401.
Sustained.
Can I have a moment, Your Honor?
Yes, you may.
Nothing further, Your Honor. Thank you.
All right. Any cross-examination, Ms. Spengler?
No, thank you.
And the jury does not appear to have any questions for this witness. May this witness be released from his subpoena, Mr. Orman?
Yes, Your Honor.
Any objection?
No objection.
All right, thank you, sir. Members of the jury, it's about 12 o'clock, so let's go ahead and take our lunch break at this time. Please make sure you adhere to all my advisements during the break. Enjoy your lunch. Try to stay dry if you can. The record should reflect that the jury has exited the courtroom. Everyone, please be seated. Is there anything we need to talk about at this time on behalf of the people?
No, Your Honor.
On behalf of the defense? All right, enjoy the lunch break. I'll see you at 1:30-ish or so. The court will be in recess.